You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. We're back here on this Monday morning. It's July 12th, the first show we've ever done here in July with me as the host of Rise and Shine Manitoba. And yeah, it's going to be a good one. We got agriculture, we got solar power talk, we also got some football talk as well. In today's episode, we got three great guests joining us. My good friend, my good buddy, Harry Siemens joins us first on the show today. He'll be joining the show after we run the intro. And then to finish off today's show, we got another edition of Graeme's Opinion here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. We'll be talking hockey, some tennis, and which milk to go is the best. Find out at the end of the show. But without further ado, let's bring in the first guest after this intro. Let's roll the intro first off. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get ready for another great edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Coming up now. One thing that's been great about July so far is just the ridiculously warm weather we've been getting here in Manitoba. I know here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, it's been so hot, and it's nice and all, but it would be nice to get some rain too. And it seems like this drought of rain is only continuing to affect farmers in a negative way. To talk about just agriculture here in Manitoba today, how the drought is affecting farmers truly throughout these times, we're bringing on Harry Siemens on the Farm Report, coming up now, sponsored by Wolf Enterprises. And we got Harry on the show now. Harry is on his iPhone this morning instead of his computer due to his camera not working for some reason. But we figured out those technical difficulties. Harry, it's been 2 weeks since we've last talked. Not having a show last week. We got a show this week, of course. It's great to have you back on to just talk about what's been going on in agriculture since the last time we've talked, just agriculture here in Manitoba. But first off, just how are you doing on this fine Monday morning, Harry? Seems like here in Winnipeg, we might be getting some rain finally, but how are things going for you?
Oh, things are going good. I've done a fair bit of travel in the last couple of weeks right across the province, and talking to farmers and agronomists and so forth, and things are good for me. But right now, since we last talked 2 weeks ago, we really have not had any measurable amounts of rain across the Western Canada. I mean, there's pockets that have had some rain, but it's like one fella told me, he says, you know what, we have these thunder showers, you get it on one side of the highway, and the person on the other side of the highway doesn't get anything. And so it's really dry. I think right now, since we last talked, the crops in most cases have deteriorated. I saw some crops yesterday that just absolutely will not yield anything. It's just too dry. And we've talked before about how the cost of production is so absolutely high for farmers. And so right now, the immediate concern is our cattle producers. I mean, it's when it doesn't rain and we didn't have moisture throughout the winter, the pastures where the cattle feed on just are drying up. So they have to get feed from elsewhere. And everybody knows that the cost of gasoline is going up, the fuel is going up. So if you need to haul in 400 or 500 miles of hay from someplace, it's becoming prohibitive. So cattle producers are going to start liquidating their cattle, meaning taking them to market early for the simple reason it's cheaper just to get what they can for the cattle at this point instead of trying to find the feed. I'm not saying for everybody, but there will be some that will do that. Others, what they do is they cull the herd. They get rid of the animals that aren't as good as the other ones and send them to market early. If they had ample feed, they would keep those cattle. So right now, I think this is the time of year. I know my brother and my nephew, they both farm, but they took the week off. They're actually up at Pelican Lake camping. So where farmers are fishing, some farmers are just sitting back and watching. Normally, they would be looking after some crop protection products and for diseases and so forth. But right now, a lot of them have to make that decision: is the crop worthwhile to spend any more money?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear your great answer there, Harry, because there's some technical difficulties on my part now. The same thing that happened a while back. I think it was in our June 28th episode when I wasn't able to. No, it was before that, but I can't hear you right now. So I'm going to get you to exit the stream and rejoin. We're going to take a commercial break early here on today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. I'll be back with Harry Siemens in just a moment, probably re-asking him the same question. Stick around. We'll be back for more here on Rise and Shine Manitoba in just a moment. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV production. It seems like we're starting off this Monday show on a bad note with just the internet connection difficulties. Well, not internet connection difficulties, my mic difficulties, as I should say. But the Farm Report, Harry Siemens joins us now. We're going to run the Farm Report video here, the little thing right here, sponsored by Wolf Enterprises, of course, and having Harry on, I think that I can hear Harry. Harry, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Awesome. So thanks for coming on. Like I said, it's been a long 2 weeks, it seems, since we've last talked. Just, you shot me a text yesterday just talking about how the crops have only deteriorated in most areas here in Manitoba. Some areas got rain, and you also did a full report. We'll get into that full report in just a bit in this interview we're doing here today. But just how have things been going since the last time we've talked? Just the updates you got for us in agriculture in here in Manitoba.
Well, the crop has deteriorated, as I've said to you before. And it's deteriorated since we last talked 2 weeks ago. And basically, what's happening is that they wouldn't be deteriorating quite as much, but those 30 plus temperatures, or even 28, 29, 30 with wind and heat, boy, it just dries up the crops. We have what we call the pulse crops. Those are the edible beans, kidney beans, pork and beans, and soybeans. They continue to, if you got a relatively good stand of the crop, any rains from now in July and August can benefit those crops, but they only make up maybe 20% of our total crop. The cereal grains, which would be wheat and barley and oats and rye, all of those crops, the time has passed where rain can really help them, and so it's a real challenge for farmers, and especially for cattle producers. Cattle producers need the pastures. We need the moisture in winter, and a lot of our majority of our cattle is produced up in the interlake and west of the lakes up to Dauphin and north and those areas, and it's been really dry. I know Tom Tykrum is a cattle producer up at Langrooth, Manitoba, and it's been a real challenge for him to keep. He's got 400 cow calf pairs, and that means 400 cows with 400 calves. They each have a calf that were born earlier this year, and so now they've got to scramble to get the feed. So because the pasture by nature isn't feeding them because there is none. So now they've got to go and pick up feed. And right now, with the cost of hauling feed, the cost of fuels and the cost of trucking and all those things, you know what? It becomes prohibitive if you have to go 200-300 miles out of your range to pick up the feed. So some of these farmers, cattle producers, will be thinking about what we call liquidating the herd, meaning they're going to be selling off the herd early to market. And some of that, and so that means that our cattle herd and where we get our beef from just shrinks, and so that's a challenge. The crops we won't know until beginning of August, when they start to get out there and start to get the combines rolling. But in many cases, I saw crops yesterday that will basically be cut for maybe for some hay, some feed, but as far as yielding any other crop, it's going to be really difficult there. And again, it's pockets. I've been all the way up to Point de Bois last week, Wednesday, came back on Friday. So it's like a 3-hour drive from Winkler. It's a 2-hour drive from Winnipeg. And yes, there's cropping up there. So those crops look better. I was up to Clear Lake about 10 days ago. And up in that part, some crops look better. But anything in between, especially where we're here in southern Manitoba, things are looking pretty disappointing, let's say that, to say the least.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Just like I said, it's nice to finally be getting this hot weather here in summer, but it's definitely not a great case for most farmers at this point. Just in a time like this, was just dealing with the heat, dealing with the way the crops are, and just dealing with all the other things. How have you seen just farmers really handle themselves during this time, or better yet, how is the best way for these farmers to proceed with just staying positive in a way?
Well, it's sometimes difficult to stay positive, but all the farmers are in the same boat, so to speak. But then, of course, you have some farmers. I'm very active on Twitter. I have 7,300 followers, and a good chunk of them are farmers and ag related, and they're right across the world probably, but Western Canada in particular, and some into the U.S. And you get some areas, yes, they've got good crops, and the next guy, and then they show pictures, right? And the next guy shows his picture of his crop, not so good. So the biggest thing is not to dwell on it, but you have to make decisions based on conditions. You don't want to spend more money in crops that may not be yielding much. But just an example, my brother and his family and my nephew, they both farm not far away from where I am, where actually I grew up. And they both took off for Pelican Lake. They're camping for this next week. Just basically getting the boat out, doing some water skiing and doing some camping, and just getting away from, there's nothing they can do at home. So if you've got the equipment, you got the motorhome and the campers, That's what a lot of guys have been doing. Some have gone fishing, but it's a little tougher to do that when you know that your income for the year is really going to be uh, maybe zero. And that doesn't mean there won't be any crop, because you can have 50% of normal, but that means that you're absolutely not making any money. You're losing money because you need 100% of the crop in order to make a profit. So it's a challenge, but at the same time, you know what? Some of the farmers have been through this before. The last real drought that we experienced was back in 1988, and it was dry at that time too, really dry. And I have a good friend, Dr. Tim Ball, who keeps track of records and climate and so forth. And he said in 1988 it was a lot drier than the infamous dirty 30s, when farmers really lost crops right across Western Canada. But he says it was a lot drier in 1988, but the crops were a lot better. Why? Because of the improved cropping techniques, improved agronomy, improved varieties of grain and special crops that they're planting nowadays, and just simply techniques, And so even now, when I see crops out there and I see the amount of, or the lack of moisture, and yet those crops are still growing, there's something good going on. But we'll see how good once the harvest comes around.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And just talking about it, just comparing the last big drought in the 80s compared to now, just you know, with how better I guess the technology has gotten, just the stuff we feed our plants, our crops. Just do you feel like learning from past experiences, just from what these farmers might have gone through that are farming now, that were farming in the 80s up until now, do you feel like they can take away from those experiences that they faced back then to come out of this I guess summer more prepared, more ready, and just to deal with stuff like this?
Well, I think in some cases, yes, but every situation is unique. When you get to this year compared to that year, and crops are different, varieties are different. But the biggest thing is that farmers have learned to not till the land as much. They have technology, they have techniques that they can use where they can conserve any kind of moisture. They can plant, if they need to plant it a half an inch deep, they can plant it half an inch. If they need to plant it 3 inches deep, they can plant it 3 inches deep. It's set. We call it precision agriculture. You can basically do with that seed what you want to do with it. But when it gets to the point where the top 3 inches are only dust, you don't want to put anything into there, because that's it just won't grow. I mean, you can wait for rain, you can take the chance, but right now we've had 2 weeks of hot, dry weather. The forecast into next weekend, I think, is still hot and dry. And I think the other thing that I should mention, farmers are big spenders, and I don't say that in a negative way. They need to buy equipment, they buy trucks, they buy tractors, they buy combines. With the price of all that, so when the farmer isn't having a crop, it affects everybody, because they're not buying the equipment that a lot of people are working in factories to manufacture. So it becomes it isn't just a farmer problem, it's an economy problem. It's a problem. Like, you take the smaller communities in rural Manitoba, right across Western Canada, they are so dependent on the farmers, so dependent on agriculture. So everybody gets affected down the line.
Yeah, and just talking about the money aspect of things, just truly, how much money do you feel could be lost just from the farmers during this time?
You know what? That's really. I would take a 2,000 acre farm. First of all, a 2,000 acre farm would average about $300 an acre of costs. So you take 2,000 times $300 an acre, that's $600,000. That's just the money they put in to try and raise that crop. So now you start to look at how much the yield. You can take a wheat crop. Take a wheat crop at 80 bushels an acre, and the price right now I think is around $8. So you take 80 times 8, that's $860. You multiply that times 2,000. Then you know how much money one farmer would generate, and if the crop isn't there, that's how much money will not come in. So that's lost. There is some crop insurance that is administered by government. Farmers pay premiums, and some of them, a lot of them will rely on that crop insurance, and they will get their costs back. But there will be no money for living expenses, no money for making, making the payments.
Yeah. And just speaking about another thing that you did, you told me you did a full report talking to farmers, agronomists, and market analysts. Could you just speak about what was talked about in that report and just the things you found were I guess the things that were in that report?
Here's the process that I use. I go on Twitter, and then first of all, I drove all the way up to Clear Lake, and I came in one day. I drove back. That's, for me, that was quite a long 4 hours, 7 hours on the car. But I saw a lot of crop, and so then I came home, and then I asked the farmers. I have a lot of farmers handles on Twitter, so I say, help me determine what the potential of the crop is. And so then I have a lot of the handles of the farmers, and I send out about 4 tweets, and then I get responses. And I got probably, 25, 30, maybe 40 responses from farmers right across Western Canada. And then I got their responses, and they basically told me what I've already told you up to this point. And then I talked to 2 agronomists. One agronomist is Brunel Sabarin. He's from St. Jean, and the agronomist is a consultant for farmers. He helps farmers make decisions based on right from the beginning, right from when the crop is being planned and right through to harvest, right? And then I talked to another agronomist from Carmen, Jason Vogt, and he of course had various other agronomists working for him. So they confirmed what I had seen. They confirmed what farmers had told me. And so from there, and then the last person I interviewed was Jonathan Driedger, and he's with Left Field Marketing. He's a commodity analyst and a commodity consultant. Farmers use his services to help them market their grain. And he has contacts right across Western Canada. So he gives me his perspective on that. And he also watches the grain markets in the United States. So he gave me boiled it all down to where, we're probably at it's hard to say, but maybe at 60, 70% of a normal crop, maybe 50, depending on different areas. So when you take it across the board. So that's how I put these reports together.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Seems like it was pretty effective, as you said. Just what was, reported to you was pretty much confirmed what you've been seeing, what farmers have been telling you. We'll finish off with this, Harry. Of course, Siemens says the tip of the week for farmers from Harry Siemens, just for the week of July 12th in 2021.
Well, I know I don't have to tell a lot of farmers this, but with the situation as it is, and looking at the forecast and not having any rain in the foreseeable future, and it can change. It can certainly change. Do what you can do in order to ease off the pressure, ease off the stress. I know it's easier said than done, But do what my brother did and my nephew. If you can, get out somewhere to the lake and just relax and get refreshed and and because the harvest is right around the corner. We've got the harvest starting probably. I saw some grain turn. We got the harvest would be starting somewhere at the beginning of August. So, and once the harvest starts, it's really work nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop work. So for all the farmers out there, like Harry said, might as well get out to the lake, do some fishing, get on the water, whatever you can to relax before the harvest hits this year. Harry, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. Thanks for joining on this Monday morning. We'll talk next week. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what's happening next week to do with doing with all the agriculture here in Manitoba. Hopefully things start to get a bit better for sure. All right, that was Harry Siemens on the Farm Report here on Rise and Shine Manitoba, kicking off the return of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Of course, we didn't have a show last week. My apologies for that. Just some things we weren't able to get lined up, but we got some great stuff lined up for you guys this week. I'll be taking a commercial break now. We'll be sending it to break. You'll be watching 2 pre-recorded interviews coming up here. Coming up first is Aaron Giesbrecht, the guy from Big Air Academy, football academy here in Manitoba. You won't want to miss it. It's coming up after this commercial break here on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions.
Peak Systems Beauty College is a little bit unique in respect to the way we teach our program. We don't do so much structure and learning and block teaching. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. If they can move faster, they do so. Therefore, learning everything earlier and getting more practice in all segments of hairstyling as opposed to just being stuck in one section for a certain period of time. So we try to accommodate all the different learning styles.
Now on Rise and Shine Manitoba is a quarterback trainer. He's the head QB trainer and owner of Big Air Academy here in Manitoba. It's Aaron Giesbrecht. Aaron, how are you doing on this Sunday morning as we're doing it pre-recorded? Great for you to join us and talk about the academy today, but how are things going for you on this Sunday morning?
Hey, Graeme, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking football with you here today.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, of course. It's summertime, so I'm assuming like things are in full swing for you guys at this point. Just what's the summer months like compared to the other months that you guys have within like training players and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, obviously this whole year and a half has been kind of unusual. So our normal format would be we would run summer camps that players would sign up for multi-weeks. We'd take them through the whole summer basically. But due to circumstances, we had camps in the past that unfortunately due to COVID had to be shortened or shut down. So right now basically we're just running drop-in workouts for quarterbacks and receivers that are kind of part of our group, and trying to get as many workouts we can and help as many players as we can. Currently we're running workouts Saturday mornings at Oak Park High School for an hour and a half, and then on Sunday evenings tonight we'll be out at Assiniboine Park for another hour and a half out there. So we offer those 2 time slots kind of consistently through the summer, but yeah, the rest has kind of just been dropping and just whoever we can get to come out and whoever wants to train.
Yeah, that's great that you guys are able to accommodate for just the different circumstances that have been going on and letting players come to these drop-in sessions. Can you just speak about how players can sign up for the academy, how they can get in contact with you guys and to pairing up with you guys to start training, whether you're a QB, a running back, or a wide receiver?
Right. The players can the best way to contact myself and our receiver coach, Coach Chris Blagden, is through Instagram. We've kind of created WhatsApp groups for our players that kind of typically train with us that are kind of in our group, so we can add players to those lists as well. And then whenever we have workouts, we basically just send out a message and kind of go from there. And obviously, we have to stay within a certain amount of numbers. Only 25 people are allowed out right now, so that's kind of the process we've taken, and typically our workouts are somewhere between 10 to 20 players. So it's been working out well. But yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of us. Is probably through our Instagram, and then we can put you on the WhatsApp.
Right on. Is there any money costs involved within just the drop-in sessions and just the
Yeah,
training sessions that you guys do have? Could you speak about those prices that you guys have to offer?
absolutely. Yeah. Right now, all we're doing is we're charging each player a $20 fee for the drop-in for the workouts. And really, the money that we're collecting for that's just money that we put back into the program to buy new equipment and just to make sure we have new stuff for the guys. It's never really been about making a lot of money for us. We're really trying to do as best as we can to keep it affordable. Obviously, we are a business, and we need to operate, and we need to be able to get new stuff for the players and new footballs and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where the money goes. But yeah, for right now, it's just $20 a session. I think that's pretty affordable for an hour and a half of really in-depth positional work that you're probably not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's great. We'll get into that, just the different types of work that you guys do with your QBs, your receivers, and your running backs later on, a bit coming up in this interview. But just speaking about the equipment that you guys are able to offer the players, could you speak about just the different equipment that you guys supply to the players in the academy?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the equipment that we use in the camp, obviously we have, footballs. We have, all the regular training, cones, footwork ladders, all that kind of stuff, bags, all that kind of stuff. But, we also when we're running typical camps, we'll purchase, gear for the players and that sort of stuff. So sometimes we have that stuff as well. But yeah, just the equipment base is we're just trying to do as much as we can to really add to what we're doing, right? Like having throwing nets for the quarterback is just an extra element. Having bags that we can run over and that kind of stuff. That all that stuff costs money. We want to replace that stuff. When it kind of gets outdated, getting new footballs, getting new equipment as we can. But yeah, that's basically what we offer.
Could you speak about just the trainings that you offer to the players in the academy? Just Big Air Academy is a quarterback, receiver, and running back training program. So you work with both quarterbacks, receivers, and running backs. Of course, you have a wide receiver coach with you and Coach Blagden. Could you just speak about what Big Air Academy offers in terms of the different types of training that you guys do?
Yeah. So, in the beginning, when I created Big Air Academy back in 2017, it was going to be completely quarterback centric. So it was a QB camp. It was a QB academy. And that was kind of my vision for it. It was just something that we didn't really have at the current time. I coached a lot of guys just on my high school teams or provincial teams that I had been involved with, where I was running additional workouts with them in the summer times leading up, because anybody who's an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach knows that when you're in season, it's really hard to really sharpen up mechanics and fundamentals. It really needs to be addressed beforehand. So it was just sort of a thing that came to be. And again, it started off as QB training. So I ran it, and I had a couple additional quarterback coaches that helped me. Through the years, we've been able to add receivers to the group. And really, that was just something that after a few workouts of just quarterbacks, it was like, okay, well, we need our guys to throw to somebody because this is kind of getting stale, right? So So that's when we progressed to kind of becoming a passing camp. We've ran some camps in the past where we've had defensive backs. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of kids that train to be defensive backs. A lot of kids in high school play both ways. And for whatever reason, it's sort of similar to the offensive line position. It's just not, kids aren't just wanting to play that position specifically. So it's been hard to get kind of defenders out. So we've really kind of just featured the offensive skill positions. I'm the quarterback coach. So we go through the workouts right now are kind of a little bit different. They're kind of a little bit more random, but typically in a planned camp, there'd be planned workouts that kind of go through a bunch of different areas, especially for the quarterback. And then we tie in those things. So let's say, just as an example, one day I'm working on a 3-step drop with my quarterback. So the receiver is going to be working on routes that fit that 3-step drop, and then we kind of tie it all in together. So Coach Blagden will work specific skills that are kind of hand in hand with what I'm doing. In terms of the running backs, we've had a running back group before. We have some running back coaches on staff. Again, it's typically a smaller group, and we kind of cross-train them with the receivers. So it's definitely pass game orientated. But we have ran some workouts in the past where we work on the running game and that kind of stuff. But typically it's pass game orientated.
Right on. And that's great, getting RBs to work on the passing aspect of things, the passing game, because obviously it's great if you're able to run that ball as a running back, as that's the main thing about the position. But if you're able to, become a better pass catcher, that makes you much more of a dual threat player at that position. Just speaking about before you started up the academy, just your experiences and how they've really helped you along the way of really growing this academy to where it is now.
Yeah, well, I guess when I played football, I was a pretty skilled passer. And back then, so I played high school football in the late 90s, and then I played junior football for the Winnipeg Rifles in the early 2000s. There just wasn't a lot of our football here locally was very, very run heavy. Everybody ran the ball. That was really what everybody did. And that's got to do with our weather. And it's got to do with the coaches in the province and where the talent was coming from. Just typically you do get a lot of talent at those positions. They're easier to teach and whatnot. And there's not as much that went into playing, there's a lot that goes into playing quarterback that really wasn't coached at that point. So when I came out of playing, I saw it as something that I really kind of thought about, well, is there an avenue here that I can help quarterbacks and receivers locally to improve that part of our game? Obviously, the Canadian football game is about throwing the ball, and we just didn't have the quality coaching at that point, or enough of the quality coaching at that point to really help the kids in the province. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Again, as I was coaching different levels, different teams, I was always trying to get additional workouts with my quarterbacks to improve them before we got into live action. And I think it was 2016, I attended a camp here locally ran by J.C. Boyce. He's a quarterback coach he's an American, but he lives in BC, and he works for the National Football Academy in the States. And he ran a camp here in Winnipeg in 2016. And somebody put us in touch together. He was looking for additional quarterbacks to attend the workout. I helped him fill his camp basically, and he asked me if I wanted to come out and observe. So I went to the camp for a couple of nights. It was great. I learned a lot, but I walked away and thinking, you know what? There's nothing here that he did that I can't do myself. Yeah. So that's kind of once I saw that, once I was there, I was like, okay, this is something I can definitely do. So that winter, I ran a little pilot project at my high school for about 6 weeks with a bunch of quarterbacks, just kind of rough going through it, trying to figure out what I would want to do, how I would teach it. But once I completed that, I knew I was ready to go. And the next year we started up from there.
Right on. And that's great that you had that opportunity to kind of see how this type of work kind of plays out. And it's great that you were able to take what you learned and started Big Air Academy just starting back in 2017 up until now. Could you just speak about how the academy has been able to grow throughout these years?
Yeah, absolutely. Started off the first year, again, only quarterbacks for the first camp. And I think I had 11 kids in the first camp, 11 quarterbacks. And The next year, we added in the receivers and defensive backs, and we had our biggest camp to date, and we had about 45 athletes. That was awesome. But again, that was I was in a position where I could offer training to the Winnipeg Rifles. I was on staff with the Winnipeg Rifles for 3 years, from 2017 to 2019. And so I was able to kind of cross-train those players, and just having contact with them, I was able to get them out at our workouts a lot. So that second camp was pretty big, because I got a lot of the defensive players from the Rifles to come out and get reps, and that worked really well. But just, again, moving forward, we kind of wanted to be able to coach a lot of high school players and whatnot. So we kind of went back to just QBs and receivers. We've worked with so many players up to date. Currently, we probably have about 30, 35 guys kind of in our stable of guys that regularly train with us. I've got a lot of quarterbacks right now that are playing junior football for the Winnipeg Rifles. We got Josh Cherison has signed to go to play for the Valley Huskers. We got some high school guys making moves. Zach Topping, he's going into Canada Prep to play. So there's been a lot of players that we've been able to work with and help, and it's been awesome. It's growing every year, and really we're just trying to provide an atmosphere where it's strictly about football. There's nothing else. We show up, we coach football. That's what it's about, and we have a lot of fun. That I get a lot of feedback from parents that often say, like, we love how the players are interacting with one another. They're laughing. They're enjoying their time when they're out there with us. We like that. That's what we're all about. And, just providing a good service with in-depth individual training that, again, they wouldn't typically get at another camp.
Obviously, hear from Winnipeg, guys like Andrew Harris and Nick Dembski have really set the bar of how far you can go as a football player here in a place like Winnipeg, Manitoba. Just for you, throughout the years of just being involved in the game, how have you seen the game grow here in terms of football here in Manitoba?
Obviously, it's grown huge. The amount of kids that are playing football now, in comparison to, again, when I was growing up, the amount of high school teams there are, it's fantastic. I would attribute that to a lot of things. I think, like, flag football wasn't around, again, when I was young. That's been a huge asset to local kids to be able to play at a young age and learn how to play the game before the contact piece comes in. But you're right. There's so many players locally. There's guys before that. A really good friend of mine, Corey Hucklack, was a local guy that played in the CFL, was an outstanding player in high school and at the Bisons, and then played pro for many years, won 2 Grey Cups. There's the list of local guys that have played in the league is quite phenomenal. So obviously that helps. And I'm fortunate right now. I'm actually in partner with Andrew Harris and DJ Lalama, working for them at Pro Prep Academy, as well as their quarterback trainer. So that's been an awesome opportunity for me to link up with those guys and again, providing something for our community.
Yeah, that's amazing that you've had a chance to link up with Andrew Harris, one of, if not the greatest Canadian RB ever to play the game, right, in the CFL, which is just that's spectacular. But let's talk about just the different types of training, the drills that you guys take your QBs through, as well as just the other players in the academy.
For sure. So for me, I believe in teaching from the ground up. Everything starts with your feet as a quarterback, and that is really my strong suit as a coach. I often say to the kids when they first come to me, I said, after a few weeks of this, what you're really going to take away is you're going to learn how to play the position with your feet first, and then we'll kind of work up and address the other things as we go. And so the drills that you're seeing me post, a lot is base work, is a lot of footwork. So as a quarterback, there's kind of a few different movements, but we work a lot on subtle movements where the quarterback just has to move a little bit to find a window to, let's say an offensive lineman is getting blown back, but he's blocking the defensive lineman. The quarterback just has to, subtly move out of the way, find a lane, and throw the ball. So we work a lot on that kind of stuff. We also work a lot on evasive movements where it's like, okay, the linebacker blitzed through the A gap and he is unblocked. Like, what are you going to do, right? So a lot of our drills are kind of ran through that. So we work on those different movements, how to escape, how to avoid, how to protect the football. But I also, and this is just my background to it, and I think one of the things that makes our camp a little bit different than most skills camps is that truly I'm an offensive coordinator. That's my strength. I love offensive football. I love schemes. I include my own schemes into our workouts. So we run routes that we would typically run in a game. We set it up so that the quarterback can get an actual read off of a defender. So we're teaching a lot of the intangible parts kind of without really going in depth about them. We're working footwork, we're working mechanics, but then we're adding in the actual football element with an actual read to it as well, without really stressing it too much. So the guys are kind of naturally getting out there. They're seeing what's going on. They're getting reps. We also have kind of a natural mentorship program, again, because I've been fortunate to work with a lot of the older guys that are playing university and playing junior. They still train with us. So I have the situation where Riley Nyack, who's a quarterback for the Manitoba Bisons now, he was out with us a couple of weeks ago, and I have a young guy that was 14 years old, brand new to us, and Riley spent about a half an hour working with him, and it's like when I can have guys within my program that kind of do the coaching for me, like that's huge, right? That connects, that makes connections with those players. It also makes young players, look up to a guy like that and want to play for the Bisons or want to play for the Winnipeg Rifles. So there's been a mentorship in what we do as well. But in terms of what I really stress, again, is footwork. It all starts from there. Your mechanics up top can be addressed as we go along. There's certain things that obviously we want to do well, but you would know as well from watching, any pro college quarterback, the greats, they all kind of have a slightly different throwing motion, right? Everybody is not the same. So I don't believe in kind of teaching robots. I don't do it all one way. There's certain things that we definitely stress in terms of the mechanics, and we work in drills, but ultimately, can the guy get the ball there, right? So I believe if I can get his feet set up in the right direction, if he's taking the proper steps, if he's not wasting any steps, that he can be efficient, and then we can address the upper body stuff once we get there. Coach Blagden also does all this same stuff with the receivers. So he addresses, individual skills, working on footwork, working on how to break on a route, right? Catching all different angles, all that kind of stuff. And then again, what we do is after that individual piece, we tie it all together. We work together in combined drills, and then we're running routes and schemes and adding that mental component in as well.
Well, that's awesome. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear you in the last little bit there for some reason. I always have this bug where for some reason the guest mic cuts out, but everyone else could hear you. It was awesome to have you on the show today, Aaron, for this week on Rise and Shine Manitoba. And it's awesome, just the stuff that this academy has been able to do. Check them out on Instagram. You can find them Big Air Academy. And yeah, if you guys are in Manitoba and you want to get involved today and you want to maybe put your kid in this academy, whether he's a quarterback, receiver, or running back, feel free to do that. Hit up these guys on Instagram as well as anywhere you can find them on social media. So we're going to go to another commercial break here in the show. I'm going to be back without Aaron to bring on the next guest in today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? we can install a system that is right for you, with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Joining me now is the host of Evolution Greenworks on ASTV Productions. She's the president and owner of Evolve Green, one of our proud sponsors here on the network. It's Lorena Mitchell. Lorena, how are you doing on this Saturday evening, I guess, since we are doing this interview pre-recorded on a Saturday? I know that you've had a busy day and you're here now. So how's it going on this fine Saturday for you?
Well, actually I was busy working much earlier today. I was working on our fundraiser for the last show that we just did. Doug Barker, you want to check it out, our special guest. Amazing individual. He broke his neck in hockey, Graeme.
Wow.
I know. Yeah, horrible. He was the captain of the Toulon Tigers at the time. He was in his last season, 28 years old. Head first into the boards. Tragic.
Wow. Yeah.
Would you believe they told him he would never drive? They told him he would never do anything. And this man was an electrician, had 2 kids, married at the time, and he drove. He got his independence. He actually built a custom tractor. He's a farmer now. So a texter, distracted driver, actually hit him 2 years ago, and his specialty van was destroyed. So we're actually raising funds for Doug Barker. So I'm pretty excited about that. So check out Evolution Greenworks, episode 21. And if you can't give, please share. Every little share helps. Anyways, yes. So thank you for having me on the show. This is so exciting. How are you?
I'm doing well, and just a tragic story indeed. Just his life changed in a matter
In an instant.
in an instant, in a flash. And if you guys want to donate, if you guys want to share, feel free to check out the link at Evolution Greenworks, and feel free to do that because it's going to go to a great cause, of course, as Lorena said. But yeah, I'm doing well. As I said, it's great to have you on the show just to talk about just your time as the president and the owner of Evolve Green. We'll talk about your time being the host of Evolution Greenworks coming up later on in this interview. But just we've all seen the commercials of Evolve Green. I want to know exactly what Evolve Green is, though. I know that you guys deal with like solar panels, technology to do with that. But
you need power. I do that. I design anything. I have taken on ATV changeovers where they were changing from a gas machine into a charged electric vehicle for Parks Canada. I was involved in that project. I love designing. And if there's ever an EMP, folks, you know what? You want me in your foxhole. I'm just saying, I'm pretty incredible with getting you power. So having said all that, we do grid tie, we do off-grid, homes, cabins, utility projects, Red River College. Like we've done some really diverse things. Mostly it is solar or solar and battery storage, but I've done plenty of wind projects. We do thermal, pretty much anything. And sometimes people just want to learn something, like they've got all these parts and now they don't know what to do. And you can come to us for that too. Like we can come out and help you get you started so as you're going to do your project safely.
Yeah, and that's great. It's just not solar technology. It's all the other stuff too, like wind products and stuff like that. Just talking about just how the company has grown throughout the 11 years that Evolve Green has been.
Actually, it's 13. We're in our 13th year this year. I know, it's so exciting. Not very many companies get to last a year 13 in our industry. So I'm excited. We're still here, still the same name, and still me. I'm the owner. But you know what? It has changed in how we started in wind and LED. Nobody, like box stores didn't have it 13 years ago. Believe it or not, only 13 years ago, you couldn't get LED anywhere. So we were very niche, worked with a lot of commercial projects. A lot of the runways up north were all done with our lighting, very specific. Our lighting was actually repairable, and so you could bring that in and just change the drivers out and away you went. You didn't have to throw this stuff away. It was all repairable. So now that the box stairs carry that sort of thing, I don't really do that much in LED anymore because you can get it virtually anywhere. But the other thing is, a lot of that stuff is not made repairable anymore. So my mandate as a company is really about the environment. I like energy savings things, and we like promoting it. We don't always sell the things we promote, even just because we try to streamline what we do. But you know what? It's really incredible. You know how that industry has grown with the LEDs. It's just everywhere now. But like I said, we don't do that unless it's something specialized like solar for parks. Like solar lighting, street lighting, that sort of thing. Sign lighting we do. I design all of those things with storage systems. This year, what's hot? Well, we've got the Greener Energy Program. So let's talk about that. The federal government released a program in June for all homeowners. Whether you want to go on-grid, off-grid, doesn't matter. Okay, you're going to get up to a $5,000 grant. I know, mic drop, right? They're going to give you money to do your renovation, not just for solar energy, though, guys. It's also for increasing your insulation, doing newer windows. Anything that makes you more energy efficient is on that list, and anything that produces energy like solar panels. So, but they've also included storage. So you can get up to 5 kilowatts of solar, and qualify for the grant. You can get more if you want, but they give you $5,000. Sorry, it's $1 per DC watt towards your solar, which is like 40% of the cost. It's awesome. And they give you up to $1,000 for a battery bank. So you can get battery banks in your home again. So if you have like a little power outage, you'll have those essential loads running for you. You're not in the dark, especially with so many people on oxygen machines and CPAPs now. It gives you a little bit of comfort knowing you're going to get some good rest, even if that storm's brewing outside. Hey?
Yeah, for sure. More comfort, more options for sure. Just more opportunity for sure to use the great products that you guys have. Just talking about the Greener Home Grant, how exactly did that come to be of you guys partnering up and starting up with that?
Yeah, so the federal government actually has been talking about this right since they, when they were talking about getting reelected. This is one of their election promises that really, they didn't say how it was going to look, but it was really nice that they did it now because it's for all across Canada. All you have to do is be a homeowner. You have to have your roll number and a picture of your driver's license, and you send it in and just fill out this quick and easy online application, and then you're signed up for it. They give you also $600 towards your energy advisor, and that's a separate thing. So the energy advisor is a $600 grant as well, because they want you to get your EnerGuide rating on your home, and that helps with the resale of your home later too, which is really incredible. So, and you need both of those to get your grants, and you pay for everything up front, and then you send your receipts in, and you're good to go. The other thing they're releasing later on this summer, actually, is that $40,000 interest-free loan. Wow. So that interest-free loan is through CMHC, but it's through the feds. And what's happening with that is for all of your energy improvements, so not just solar, like we're talking like making your house the way it should have been probably to begin with, increasing the insulation, the vapor barrier, what have you, changing your heating style. There's so many things included, and that is to restart our economy in Canada after the pandemic and get people working out there, right? So it's going to help every single industry across Canada that is involved with anything to do with that. And it's straight across Canada. So when those workers work, they spend money in their communities. So there's going to be money injected into all these communities straight across Canada. I can't think of a better way to do it than something environmentally sound and helping people to reduce their energy costs.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to know about is just the growth throughout the years since the company has started, of how you guys have gotten more notice and just more recognition about the great stuff that you're doing of making technology the way it should be, environmentally friendly.
Yeah, you got to hold a lot of companies accountable. Even when you're buying food or anything like that and it's overpackaged, you know, you really have to just stand up and include your voice with the many voices that are now saying it loud and clear. When I first started Evolve Green, people didn't even know what the term renewable energy was back then. I worked a lot with schools and the government and, you know, the Army and BC Ferries and all these kind of incredible first adopter places. And they didn't know. That was a number one question. I'd explain it. I'd explain what we called renewable energy. Now everybody knows that. Everybody. And it's exciting. People are banding together and saying, no, we're saying that we can do this better. And that's incredible. In 13 years, that kind of a shift has happened. And our growth has been like probably, I'd have to say it's been like 500% in that time frame. So we went from global. People ask, how's your company grow? I say, well, it grew inward. And what do you mean by that? Well, it's because we were global. There was not very many of us doing what I do, designing solar systems and designing solar storage systems and all of that great stuff. And, you know, so it's really exciting, but it actually grew in. So global and then kind of more on North America and then US and Canada. And now we're really like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. Why? Because we have enough work to stay here. We have enough work to be here. And I love it. We're employing more people than ever. We've probably got just under 10 people on staff at this point between that and contractors. So we're putting people to work in our province and growing our skills. And working with so many great companies out there as well. It's been exciting.
Yeah, I bet. And it's awesome that you've been able to grow the number of staff that you do have as of now, which is great. Just talking about the pricing of your guys' products, just if people want to go with Evolve Green, what type of pricing could we expect from the different products that you have?
Yeah, well, it does vary, but you know, our cost per watt has really gone down. We're about $2.50. It could be a little bit lower depending on the type of technology you go with for grid connected solar. If you're getting into storage systems, you can get into a storage system for, you know, around $12,000 would give you a nice, decent storage system, and it be solar ready as well. So, you know, we've got so many great options right now. And if it is a grid connected system, Hydro has a $20,000 loan for up to 15 years with just under 5% is their interest rate. So that's pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And yeah, just a heck of a company, Evolve Green. I always play the commercials in our shows. It's great what you guys have been able to do. Yeah, always
Excellent.
great to, yeah.
And as for
great.
Evolution Greenworks, this is kind of weird. It was a brainchild of Glenn, and we got together and he wanted to interview us. He wanted to, well, us. The company is always us. It was me. He wanted to interview me about solar energy, and then he was going to have this DIY show, and we sort of got talking, and we were talking about all these exciting things, and he says, okay, so maybe it should be like a 5-part series. He said, and by the end of this, 30-minute conversation, he says, do you want to do a show? That's kind of how it happened. And that was last September, and I think we went live with the first show in October. Didn't have a farthing clue what I was doing, but you know what? We're still kind of muddling through anyway.
Yeah.
And enjoying every minute of it, you know, like, because in what I do, it's about the environment. We have upcyclers, recyclers, we have people who train, we have just taken on another sponsor, and that's a trainer. So that company trains professionals in our industry, which is awesome. We've done book releases for lithium batteries. We've done carbon capture technology that is absolutely revolutionary and is going to touch everybody's lives within 5 years. And we'll make some really big changes. And that is so exciting to me. So regardless of whether or not it's in the capture of Evolve Green doesn't matter, because me as an individual is just basically born in the wrong era. I'm kind of like a hippie, tree loving, and you know, I just have to learn how to make money because I'm a bit giving as well. So, but I really love what I do. You know, it's not work if you love what you do. And I entreat everybody to enjoy what they do. It's not always possible. Sometimes you have to muddle through till you can get to that, but you're really going to have a lot less stress in your life if you do.
Yeah, for sure. And seems like you're having the time of your life, of course, doing all the things that you've been doing. Just speak about that journey for you, starting up as a TV host here on ASTV Productions, MBSN at the time. Just about the journey to get to the point where you're at now as a TV host.
Well, it's been kind of exciting. We've done some like kind of funny things and, you know, to try and promote the show and things like that. But I think once I nestled into it, I think it just came very easy. We're talking about something I'm very passionate about. We're always talking about the environment in one capacity or another. Even Doug Barker, which is a kind of a departure, isn't. He's actually a client, and he was an electrician and is an electrician still at heart. And when we did his install, we actually walked through the whole process with him. So he completely understood solar, grid connected solar at the end of it. He actively is an environmentalist on his own right and has done a lot of promotion to that effect. So it was nice to be able to have him on the show for that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you spoke about a sponsor that you guys recently started promoting on your show that you're pairing up with. Could you talk about that, a new sponsor that you guys got on Evolution Greenworks?
Yeah, well, that came to be like I also post these shows on LinkedIn, and I have over 7,000 on my LinkedIn, plus Evolve Green, which has over 3,200 subscribers. So we're actually pretty powerful in our own right, having been around so long. So basically, 39,000 on our Evolve Green Facebook too, right? So having said that, I've known Chris, who is one of the owners of AETI, and AETI is kind of the new brainchild. They're expanding out, and they're including renewable energy experts and professionals of all different calibers. So it's not just electricians that are taking these courses. It's also for promotion, sales, design, kind of similar to what they have in the US, but Canadian driven. And that's important. We like to talk about Canadian content on our show as much as possible. And they used to own, Chris used to be a part of Solar Installers Canada, which was more geared to learning off-grid, on-grid solar, very kind of specific and very geared to the electricians. So this just expands out everything and makes it a nice, complete renewable energy kind of capture, which is nice for our industry because, you know, this is going to become one of the biggest industries we're going to have in Canada at some point, because every single home is really going to have some form of renewable energy involved with it at some juncture. So you're going to have the professionals trained and ready to go. So the folks over at AETIinc.com, hey, these guys can help you out if you're looking to branch out into our industry and become my competition. But hey, you're going to have a run for your money. I am the most reviewed company in Manitoba for renewable energy.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be some big competition for them for sure, going up against you and your brand for sure in the Evolve Green. But let's just talk about what Evolution Greenworks is about. You've hinted at, of course, it's about the environment. But can you dive into just the different things that you've been able to talk about with guests on the show?
Absolutely. We've had guests on about wind energy. We have one of the only manufacturers of wind turbines left in Canada is actually right in our province out of St. Malo, and what they're up to now and how they're reinventing. They just changed their name from Kelso to Kinetic. So Kinetic Energy is now out of St. Malo. They're pretty cool. We've talked to Seven Oaks School Division. They have a renewable energy program with I think it's similar to like if you want to be do an electrical apprentice thing through school, a high school. It's the same idea, but for renewable energy, and they send them out into the workforce, and these guys and gals get up to 8 credits in their high school, which is just incredible. We've had Mr. Turner on, and he's going to come back in September and October because he's actually branching out into agriculture and how does renewables impact agriculture. So that'll be pretty cool. But we've had carbon capture and airships. Dr. Barry Prentice. Oh, wow. I worked on the airships project a number of years ago, and I think it was like 2015 with Dr. Barry Prentice. Oh, he was out of St. Andrews Airport. And we ran that facility with an off-grid solar system and battery backup until a tornado actually took out their facility. By the way, the solar was still standing.
Wow. So speak about the durability.
Yep. Building was gone. Solar was there on a pole mount right beside it and everything, because it was kind of one of those cloth buildings, and so imploded inside. Yeah. So I'd love to see the airships project get back off and get funded. We need $100 million for that. And I can guarantee you that we can solve all of the problems up in northern Manitoba and all of northern Canada. In fact, with food instability and housing, because we could actually, we can make them big enough to carry a house.
Wow. That's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah. Everybody goes back to the Hindenburg, but we've solved all of those problems now. Like Dr. Prentice and his team have solved, and he's out of the U of M. So this is some of the great talent we actually have right here in Manitoba. And I think one of the things that I wanted to try and solve is, and yet, I mean, we do interview across North America, but one of the problems I wanted to solve was here in Manitoba, everybody thinks the grass is greener somewhere else. We don't have talent. We don't have industry. We don't have whatever. It always is in Ontario or Calgary or wherever, right? I'm telling you right now, we have unique, amazing individuals. And I come across and know more people that I want to interview than I have time to do. I mean, that's how incredible it is. I love to interview companies, especially right now with the pandemic, help them get known and they can tell their side of what they're doing and bring forth their company. It's a great way to, let people know what people are doing with their companies. And a great means to advertise, right? So you can talk right to your customer through our program, which is amazing in itself. It's 40 minutes of goodness.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be awesome to see what guests you have on coming up in the future. And you got a great guest coming up this week. We can watch it Wednesday night on ASTV Productions, correct?
I think so. Now, here's the thing. We have been posting to the MBNS, and Glenn is in the process of changing that over to the ASTV Productions. So we're in transition, coming over. We're coming there, and we're going to be there. So coming up this week, we're going to be talking about understanding our renewable energy grants that are coming out and how you can get involved and how many industries are impacted by that. And we're going to be interviewing a geothermal company. Oh,
well, that's going to be really cool. Going to be really interesting to see that. Of course, check it out on Wednesday night. Everybody, a new show of Evolution Greenworks coming up this week on the network, so it's going to be awesome. So Lorena, thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday evening and joining me here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. It was a lot of fun. I hope to connect with you again in the future. This is great.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real joy, and it is Saturday, so you go have some fun too. It's really warm out there.
Yeah, it is warm. I'm going to change out of this long sleeve t-shirt and I enjoy the nice weather out here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We're going to take another commercial break here in this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. We're going to be back here for more Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions in a moment. Stick with us after the break.
Why go solar? It's not just for the environment, although that is a great reason. Did you know that when you install your new solar plant, you are only paying 7 cents per kilowatt? That's right, 7 cents! Solar is now cheaper than buying electricity, 25% cheaper than buying it from Manitoba Hydro. Going solar is different from any other investment you will make in your life, as you will retain the value on your roof. Solar does not depreciate like other investments do, and unlike a GIC, your investment will start paying you from day one. And when you choose to sell your home, well, you will get the cost of the solar back, as this investment rarely depreciates. When choosing solar, look for high-end products like microinverters with 10 to 25-year warranties. Make sure your installation is done by a professional. We are Evolve Green, and we are celebrating 12 years in the industry and can help you put your roof to work for you. Ask also about your options like battery backup for when the grid fails, and how about solar heaters to get rid of snow buildup. Are you a farm or a business? Did you know that your solar is a 100% tax write-off? Yes, that's right. You can write off all the cost for the solar in the year you purchased it. This is a perfect investment for any business. In Manitoba, the portion a resident customer sells to Hydro is also a tax write-off in the first year. Farms pay no PST on solar systems. We build, design, and supply the best in solar power for both on and off the grid. For experts you can trust, call or email Evolve Green today. 1-866-5-EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Had a little voice crack there. I hope that you guys enjoyed the two interviews that we just showed here. First with Aaron Giesbrecht, owner and head QB trainer of Big Air Academy here in Manitoba, as well as Lorena Mitchell, owner and president of Evolve Green. Of course, her show Evolution Greenworks comes out with a new episode this week. I know that I said that it, the show's on ASTV Productions, but I do remember now that they are transitioning onto ASTV Productions from MBNS TV. So, yeah, whether it's on MBNS or ASTV Productions this week, go and check it out. It should be a great show. And yeah, that commercial I just played from Evolve Green, that's an older commercial. 13 years in the business for them now, as Lorena said, not 12 or 11 like I said, but 13 years in the business for Evolve Green since they become a company. And yeah, it's some great stuff that they've been doing, and we're proud to have them on as a sponsor here on ASTV Productions. But anyways, welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba. As I said, at the start of this episode, I told you guys that we are going to be doing Graeme's opinion today, and that is actually what we're transitioning into right now to end off the show. And we're going to start off with just the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, defeating the Montreal Canadiens last week in 5 games in Tampa Bay in front of their fans. And yeah, with a 1-0 victory in that game, 5-2 clinched the Stanley Cup. Of course, there were the boys were fired up on that team. I know that Nikita Kucherov, honestly, I think he was just hammered out of his mind in his presser. He really didn't hold back about the Montreal fans, and that's a topic for another day, I think, and we're not going to discuss it on this show. But yeah, seems like Nikita Kucherov was letting out some brutal honesty for sure on the Montreal fans, and he was definitely drunk. He came in with the Bud Light tarp off, dropping some F-bombs. Of course, swears are not fun to deal with if you're a producer producing TV and you're especially in sports. But from a fan standpoint of view, it was from a fan point of view, from that standpoint, it was pretty entertaining to watch Nikita Kucherov in that presser. But let's move into if the Tampa Bay Lightning have the potential to become the next dynasty in the NHL, or have they already become the next dynasty? Well, I don't think they become the next dynasty yet. 2 seasons back to back. First team to do it since the Pittsburgh Penguins did when they did it a few years ago, going back to back. But yeah, just Tampa Bay. I don't think they are a dynasty yet, but they definitely have the makings of it. Back to back Stanley Cup champions. They're gonna have Kucherov, Stamkos, Point, Palat, Gord, Johnson, Cirelli, Killorn, Maroon, Stevens, Joseph. They're all locked up until the 2022-2023 season. Kuch is going to be here for another 6 seasons with that team. Stammer will be there up until 2024-2025. They're going to have some decisions to make, obviously, if they're going to want to keep a guy like Point here, which I assume they will want to. That guy's just been such a game breaker in the playoffs in these past 2 seasons for this team. He'll be a restricted free agent in 2022-2023. Palat is set to become UFA, which is an unrestricted free agent in 2022-2023. Maroon is also set to become a UFA in 2022-2023, and Stevens and Joseph are going to be RFAs as well, which is restricted free agents in 2022-2023. So they're looking like they're still going to be pretty deep at that forward spot for at least the next 2 years. I can guarantee you that they're going to try everything to get a deal done with Point to make him stay. I think he's going to want to stay as well. That guy's just he's been royalty for that team in the past 2 seasons. Andre Palat might be a guy who could go. Maroon as well. Stevens and Joseph, that's going to be interesting. Of course, there are RFAs, but they definitely want to keep Palat. Of course, he was every player on this team played such a huge role. But if the money isn't there, of course, with them being over capped this season in the playoffs, there's definitely going to be some changes coming next season, because you won't be able to have a guy like all that talent that they had in the lineup in the playoffs in the regular season due to the salary cap rules in the regular season. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure, but they're still going to be probably, if not the deepest team up front in the league next season. One of the best offenses for sure when you got a guy like Cooch, Stammer, Point, just the list goes on and on. Yanni Gord was huge in the playoffs. Johnson played a huge role in that team's success in the finals. Cirelli, Killorn, the list goes on and on, like I said. But, looking at their defense, you got a guy like Victor Hedman, who is arguably the best defenseman in the league, McDonough, Sergachev, Chernak, and Ruda locked up until 2022-2023 on defense. Ruda, of course, set to be a UFA in 2022-2023. And then you got Vazzy there in the pipes until 2027-2028. So this team seems like they're set up for success, at least for the next 2 seasons. They are going to have some UFAs and RFAs heading into next season. Heading into the 2022-2023 season. But overall, as long as you got guys like Cooch, Stamkos, Point, Hedman, and Vazzy, those are the guys. These are guys that could be on all-star teams every day of the week. Just with how talented they are. They got the depth up front, the deep back end as well. World-class coaching. John Cooper is one of the best out there, no doubt about that. Just the adjustments he was making in the playoffs all along. Just, the success, I think, also falls on him, falls on everyone on this team of just how they've been able to be so good. And just the question is just which teams will be able to match up with Tampa. New York matched up with Tampa the best, taking them to 7. But, a team like the Florida Panthers took them to 6 games. A team like the Carolina Hurricanes, I believe they took them to 5 games, if if I'm not mistaken. I forget, either 5 or 6 games, but Tampa handled their competition pretty easily, except for against the New York Islanders. This team, even when their backs were up against the wall in that series against New York, this team was just able to make the adjustments. And even though this is a high-powered offensive team, they were able to really rely on their strong defensive play. And I think we really saw that in that Stanley Cup final against Montreal when they raised their level. But the teams that can compete with them, getting back to that, the New York Islanders obviously are that team that gave them the biggest run for their money in these playoffs. You'd like to think Carolina would be, learn from their experiences this season and really improve next season into becoming a bigger threat to Tampa, just with the talent on that roster. The divisions are going back to normal. I'm assuming next season you're going to have teams like your Florida's, Boston, and Toronto, but will those teams match up with Tampa? I'm not so sure with just how Tampa is doing. Maybe Florida will have a bit of a better shot next season with getting Ekblad back on the defensive end of things. Just that forward group is unreal too, and it's going to be interesting about their goaltending as well. And then you just got a team like Toronto. I wouldn't bet on them because to beat Tampa, because they haven't even been able to make it out of the first round, right? Looking at the West, looking at teams like Vegas, Colorado, teams like that. But even then, Colorado, even though they got that offense, they really got exposed by Vegas, that their defense is on that smaller side of things. And, they really got worn down. I think Tampa would have been able to do the same thing. Vegas, I think, would be the most complete team, the team with the best chance to beat Tampa from the West coming into next season, just with the overall depth they got up front on the back end and with the goaltending they got as well. But overall, there's not many teams, if any, that can stack up really to this Tampa Bay Lightning squad, except for a select few. They're going to be deep again up front next season, even with the cap issues that they're going to have to deal with. They're going to be deep on the back end. World-class goaltending, world-class coaching makes for this team. I'd have to say they're the favorites coming in to repeat. And honestly, with the talent they have in the next 2 seasons, I honestly think that could be a very good chance for them to at least win one next season or in the next 2 seasons again and become a dynasty, to be quite honest with you. So that's Graeme's opinion on that. Moving into tennis now. Looking at Novak Djokovic winning his 20th Grand Slam yesterday in Wimbledon over Berrettini from Italy, the 7th-ranked player in the tournament. And yeah, is Novak Djokovic the greatest tennis player of all time? I'd have to say he is. Just looking at this resume, 20 Grand Slams, tied for the most all time with Federer and Nadal. 9 Australian Open titles, the most ever, 3rd ahead of Federer. 3 ahead of Federer, as I should say. He's got 2 French Open titles. He's tied 6th all time in that regard. 6 Wimbledon titles. He's got the 3rd most of all time now, 2 back of Federer for tying him for the most. And he's got 3 U.S. Open titles, tied at 6, 2 back of the most. He's got a 968 and 195 record overall, so 968 losses, 968 wins, 195 losses. My apologies. One of the highest winning percentages of all time, 317 wins and 45 losses in Grand Slams. Got the most big titles of all time, which is Grand Slams, All Tour Finals, Masters, Olympics at 61. He's got 1 Olympic medal, but has yet to win a gold medal in his career. He could get that Golden Slam, which has only been done once. I believe it was by Steffi Graf. Not too sure though, but yeah, it's when you win all 4 slams in a year and an Olympic gold medal in a calendar year. And he's already done 3 of those tournaments already. Winning the Australian Open, winning the French Open, as well as Wimbledon this year. this year. And, he could also get the calendar slam, which he's come close to completing two times, as I should say. He's on his way to doing it almost for the third time this year. And both losses in those years where he had a chance to do it, where he came close at least, they both came in the French Open to Rafael Nadal. You just look at Novak Djokovic's game. As a tennis fan, I've always been a Roger Federer fan, number one. Just the way he's played the game. He plays it with such grace, such class. I'd have to say that out of the big three, out of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, Nadal is probably the best athlete that I've ever seen in the game. But when we talk about athlete and tennis player overall, Novak Djokovic, not the flashiest tennis player out there, but he gets that job done. He's just probably the most complete tennis player that I've ever seen. His forehand is deadly. His backhand is great. His defense is probably the best part of his game. His ability to really wear down his opponents and make them work for the points to pretty much be near perfect to beat him is just outstanding. And one of the things that is I think one of the most impressive thing is that every time he's playing a big match against whether it be a big name like Federer and Nadal or against an underdog, the crowd is always rooting against him. It seems like, or rooting more for the other opponent. And that's just ridiculous that he's been able to be so mentally strong as an athlete. Even if he's down 2 sets, I'd still bet on Djokovic to win the match. And just for him to be mentally strong with the crowd against him as an athlete when you're competing and it's just you against your opponent, no team, it's just you single-handedly going out there and doing your thing. Him being able to do that has been absolutely extraordinary. I think that's one of the most impressive things to me about Novak Djokovic is just dominance throughout the years. Just looking at the era he's competed in, he's competed against the 2 other greatest players of all time, in my opinion, in Nadal and Federer, and he's got the head-to-head against them both. He's 30-28 against Nadal, 27-23 versus Federer, and he's only 34 years old. He has 5 years on Federer, as Federer is 39 years old, and he has 1 on Nadal. And I would bet on Djokovic to finish with the most slams of all time over Nadal, just because I think his game is fit better for longevity other than Nadal's. As great as it is, the body gets older. A style like Nadal's of relying on his athleticism so much will I think take a toll on him down the line. And I think we definitely saw Djokovic, the stamina, just the mental toughness, the grit, just the composure in that game against that match against Nadal in the semifinals of the French Open this year, beating him in 4 sets, I believe it was. I think he won in 4 sets. Yeah. But being able to beat the King of Clay, the guy that I think has given him the most fits throughout his career, definitely a big step for Djokovic in his career. And then he wins the French Open. I think that, to be honest, this guy is the greatest of all time. He's proven it throughout as his career has continued. He's proven that he's just on another level than anyone else. He's really only had 1 bad year, and that was the year where he withdrew from the US Open due to an injury. And after that, he came back, and it looks like he's on a whole other level now. I think that he's going to get the calendar slam, and I think he's going to get that golden slam as well. He's a guy that has talked about how he's trying to win as many majors as possible, as many slams as possible. And, that history is on his mind. He knows about it. And, just him beating Nadal this season, in this calendar year in the French Open, the tournament that's been the hardest for Djokovic to win, as he only has 2. Just with how dominant Nadal is, it was a huge step for him. And Djokovic has just been a great clay court player for his whole career, but he's always been bested by the king of clay, which is Nadal. And for him to be able to beat him this year at Roland Garros, stopping Nadal from getting his 14th French Open, it was a huge step, and it could, potentially be a sign of things to come, just with Nadal getting older, I think that, even though he's only a year older than Djokovic, just like, I said, the style of play that he plays, I think that's a bit more taxing. And I think that Djokovic is going to have more of an advantage going forward in tournaments like this, but in slams against the guys like Nadal and a guy like Federer as well, just with how prime he looks right now, Djokovic. But I think that he's the greatest of all time. I think that he's going to get the calendar slam this year, and I think that he's going to complete the Golden Slam as well. This is maybe one of, if not the best seasons of tennis of any player that I think we've ever seen. And just looking at the way the game has changed with the technology and how much better other countries have gone to, it makes it that much more impressive. But that's going to do it for the sports portion of Graeme's opinion. We're now going to dive into something that I'm excited to do. I'll be right back. I got to get these 4 drinks that I bought this morning. And got the drinks right here. Went to Circle K, which is, if you guys don't know what Circle K is, it's basically like a 7-Eleven. Basically, what we're doing now, what I'm doing now is I'm going to be testing out some milk to goes. I know that in the promo for the episode we put out on Saturday, I said which milk is the best. I decided to change it up and go with which milk to go is the best flavor, which one has the best flavor. And we got some pretty good flavors here. I'm a huge fan of these. Drank them as a kid. I still drink them to this day. They're pretty legendary. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're a big fan of milk, definitely try these. I'm sure that a bunch of people have. I'm just noticing that I misspelled the name of Milk to Go. There's actually a 2 instead of the actual spelling of T-O. But yeah, you can get these at, any store really. I picked these up at Circle K, which is a convenience store. And yeah, I actually got these for $7.99 in total, which is a heck of a deal. They're $2.99 each, so I'm not sure how that happened. But yeah, we're going to try out some milks today, milk to goes. And I'm going to tell you which one is the worst, the third best, the second best, and which one is my favorite. So we're going to start off with this white one here. Partly skimmed milk, 2%. I'm pretty sure this is the just normal white milk. So, excuse me here. Oh. Little spillage there. That's okay. We'll clean that up in a bit. But yeah, I'm assuming this is the original flavor, just the white one. Let's give it a try. Yeah, so this definitely is partly skimmed, like they say. It's not bad, but if I want to get a milk to go, I'm looking for that flavor, right? The different flavors that you can't get in some milks you buy in the stores. And of course, you can buy strawberry, and I don't know if you can buy banana milk, to be honest. But yeah, if I'm getting a milk to go, I just don't want that original milk, the normal OG milk, right? Even though it is partly skimmed. I want that flavor. I know that for a lot of people, white milk is just fine. Partly skimmed milk is just fine. But for me, I'm looking for a bit more pop. So pretty sure I've tried all of these in my lifetime. Yeah, I have. But it's been a while for some of these. I'm a big banana guy in terms of just the flavor of the milk. And yeah, we're going to try this chocolate one now. Can never go wrong with some chocolate milk. See how it tastes. Yeah, it's delicious. If you love chocolate, if you love chocolate milk just in general, this is definitely a solid one. This is at 1% mg. I don't know what that really means, but yeah, all of these are actually partly skimmed. I'm realizing it now. So if you're a fan of skimmed milk, you're going to like these. not the biggest fan, but for these, I think it's an exception. I love these milk to goes. They're amazing. They taste so good. But yeah, the chocolate milk, definitely a banger. Definitely slaps. Definitely something that you could drink on the daily for sure. But yeah, let's try out this strawberry milk. By the way, I've never really critiqued stuff like this, so my apologies if the analysis is kind of bland, but let's get the strawberry milk open. I'm a huge fan of strawberry milk. It's weird. It doesn't look pink. It's white. Just looking at it, which is bizarre. I usually get strawberry milk and it's pink, right? Or the color of what strawberry would be. But yeah, I know some people don't like it. I'm usually a fan of strawberry milk. I haven't had this one in a while, so let's see how it tastes. Yeah, you definitely taste that strawberry in there. It pops quite a bit. It's pretty unreal how it tastes just like strawberry, even though I'm sure that it's fake strawberry flavor in here. Yeah, just looking at the ingredients: partly skimmed milk, vitamin A, palmitate, vitamin D3, sugar, natural flavor, disodium, phosphate, carrageenan, and guar gum. So, it doesn't sound too appealing, but this stuff is amazing. And yeah, the strawberry milk, if you're a huge strawberry fan, if you like strawberry milk, you're going to love this one. It tastes like all the other ones that I've had, to be honest. Well, not quite a bit different, but pretty similar. But let's go for this one. Banana milk. Bet you this one's going to be my favorite. I love banana and everything I have to a certain point, but in terms of drinks, like banana drinks slap. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. It's pretty unreal for sure. But let's take a sip of this, dive in, and I'll tell you which one I think is the best after. But I'm not sure if you have to shake these either. But I haven't been shaking them. I've just been cracking them open and sipping them. But let's try this out, the banana milk to go. Yeah, that one definitely hits the best for me. Definitely can taste that banana flavor popping in your mouth when you drink it. The flavor explodes. And yeah, it's a good time for sure. I could probably chug that one in 30 seconds because it's so tasty. But yeah, here's the final result, of which I think is the worst to best. Definitely have to go with this one is the worst. It's good, but like I said, if I'm getting the milk to go, I want that different flavor. I just don't want normal milk, right? But yeah, it's still solid. It's still really good. Just out of these three that are left, out of the four, I'd say this is probably my least favorite. Gonna go with chocolate third. Chocolate milk, obviously a mainstay for a lot of households here for milk drinkers. Just great for after workout too. I will tell you, chocolate milk just hits differently after that. It's amazing chocolate flavor in here. Like I said, that flavor pops, or I don't know if I said that, but the flavor pops. It's just, it comes down to preference. And for me, I like to go on the wild side of things with the strawberry and the banana. What's the best out of these two? Well, I have to go strawberry as number two. It was really tasty. You can definitely taste, they definitely put something in there that makes it taste like real strawberry almost, even though I didn't see strawberry in the ingredients. But yeah, that's a really good strawberry milk, maybe one of the best that you can get out there for strawberry. But yeah, nothing compares to banana for me. It's my absolute favorite, probably the one I get the most when I get milk to goes. It's just, who doesn't love banana, right? Who doesn't love banana? And if you don't like banana, I feel sorry for you. You're missing out in terms of the fruit. But yeah, like the strawberry, you can definitely taste like they put something in there to taste like real banana. And yeah, or something that is as close to it as possible without actually putting banana in it. But just the flavor pops. Just like the others, but this one for me, it comes down to preference with me liking banana the most. So that's all for Graham's opinion. We got the milk to goes here, or you could call it the Legos, the Lego, which is the French pronunciation. And yeah, it was sweet trying out some flavors today. Some milk to goes, which was awesome. But yeah, that's going to do it on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Monday. We're almost at that 1 hour and 45-minute mark, so it was a bit of a longer one today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the interview I did with Harry Siemens today on the Farm Report, as well as Aaron Giesbrecht and Lorena Mitchell. Aaron Giesbrecht, the owner and head QB trainer of Big Air Academy, and Lorena, of course, the owner and president of Evolve Green and the host of Evolution Greenworks here on MBNS and ASTV Productions, whichever one of those networks that she's on. But yeah, also Graham's opinion today was great, just talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they have the chance to be a dynasty or not, as well as Novak Djokovic, is he the greatest player of all time? We answered those questions, as well as which milk to go flavor is the best. We'll be back on the network next week for another edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You can catch that episode next Monday on ASTV Productions on Facebook, as well as on our website at astvproductions.com. But until next Monday, folks, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. I'm about to go enjoy some of these milk to go, some more here, maybe chug this banana one, maybe finish this one. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna go enjoy some milk. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe out there and have a wonderful week as well, and also stay cool, because it is pretty hot here in Winnipeg. At least I know throughout whole the Manitoba as a whole, it's pretty hot too. But yeah, that's gonna do it, folks. See you next Monday. This has been another edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace out.